Hello again, YouTube land. Let's try recording this again. I had several minutes recorded, and before I post things, I play them back to make sure about continuity and message and sound quality, and the video I just recorded decided to go all on me. So let's try this again. I haven't posted in a while because I had a bit of a snafu talking to my dad, asking him whether he'd been watching them, and it became a passive-aggressive conversation thing. And I wrote him an email a few days after saying, dude, the hell. I mean, it was more detailed than that. But to his credit, he apologized. So, here's basically what I had to say. I suppose since I have to re-record this, I can make an effort to make it a little bit more succinct. Recently we had a heat wave of just a couple of days with over 90-degree weather. Today, through I think Tuesday, we're having another 90-degree plus heat wave series of days. That means I'm basically not leaving the house because as much as I hate the heat and hate extreme cold like winter, I spent 20 years growing up in Maine, which easily qualifies as one of the top 5 cold places to grow up in. It's not Siberia, but by U.S. standards, it's pretty damn cold. And as much as I don't like the cold, I will say this. I can breathe easier. The air is cooler because of whatever snow, sleet, rain, hail, slush, what have you. There's a lot of moisture in general in the environment, which makes breathing a lot easier as well, especially for someone who has minor asthma and chronic dehydration issues like I do. In summer, I don't have that luxury. In fact, it's quite exacerbated in the opposite direction because in winter, as fat as all that padding makes me look, which says a lot given that I'm naturally fat, in summer I cannot strip off my skin. I cannot peel away layers of cellulite and musculature to help myself lighten up and cool down. So the best I can do is pray that I don't destroy our electric bill by living in the air conditioner. That being said, since I'm stuck at home for health reasons, I try to be productive and I try to be useful, not just cleaning projects in general, straightening up the table, filing papers. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta file papers still. But other productive things. Now, I enjoy crafts, knitting, sewing, blah blah blah, but for me, craft typically means culinary. I have in the last few weeks made a pound cake, a chocolate bundt cake, 2 loaves of banana bread, one of which was gluten-free as a gift for my in-laws and grandparent in-laws for Father's Day. I have made a batch of my chocolate chip cookies, except instead of as cookies, I made it into a chocolate chip kind of cake bar thing where you bake it in a square pan all as one batch and then you cut it into bars. Came out pretty well, actually. I made Thousand Island dressing yesterday to go with some of Sam's lunches. I have made teriyaki marinade salmon with rice and cream spinach. More than once I made pork chop over rice with applesauce for myself. Sam doesn't like pork chops. What else have I made? This morning I made my first ever batch of mayonnaise from scratch, which is something I've been meaning to learn nigh on 10 years now. And I'll tell you this, it could be done in a machine, and my husband even said to me as I was whisking it together, why don't you do it in this? And he taps my KitchenAid 5-quart stand mixer, and I said, dude, I'd have to be doing 3 times a batch to this size for that to be worth it, I think. Besides, I try to do recipes classically, as it were, the first time. And typically, mayonnaise is made, when it's made in these smaller home batches, it's made by whisking it. The problem is it's an emulsion, which means you have to keep whisking, and this sumbitch takes about 10 minutes or more of continual whisking. It is not easy. It looks good. I haven't had an application to use it yet because I just made it this morning, but I'm confident it's going to taste good. What else? As part of my lunch today, I made myself homemade onion rings with flour and panko breading after a buttermilk dip. Those were pretty good. Very light. I think I got the right kind of onions finally, because I don't like those thick beer batter ones. I like them to be kind of, like light and flaky, crispy, crunchy, where they don't have so much batter on them that they really hold on to the oil. They're just coated enough. But they came out really well. But yeah, in the next series of heat wave induced days, I'm probably going to be making more food related items. I have a tab open on my screen now for buttermilk ranch dressing, which is, probably something I would like. I really do like cream-based sauces. You wonder how I got this fat. I don't. I have a recipe open for onion dip, which involves caramelized onions, which, if you've never made them at home, it's worth the time. Because if you like caramelized onions on things like burgers or hot dogs or what have you, making them at home, totally worth it. Totally worth it. I have plans for what I'm making for dinner tonight, which is probably going to be a partially pan-cooked rotini with some oil, garlic, chicken broth, fresh cut basil from my planter, Parmesan cheese, probably some shreds of mozzarella. I'm iffy on the cubed tomato, though. I'm not quite sure yet. Depends on how it tastes. A bit of salt and pepper, obviously. I have some frozen shrimp that I'm going to use for mine. I'm going to pan cook off some leftover chicken breast I've been defrosting since yesterday to go with Sam's. And Sam, I'll give him this. He is passionate about food. Not just as an eater. He actually also shows enthusiasm for wanting to learn how to cook. And I know I haven't been giving him all the cooking lessons he wants, but as he asks me for lessons, I realize as much as I know about food, a lot of that comes from being a fat person most of my life. It doesn't come from experience. I've worked in restaurants, but never as a sous chef, never as a defined prep cook. I mean, I would help with prep. Chopping vegetables is really not that hard, provided you have confidence with a knife. But generally, I would, work the grill for making breads or the fryer for making appetizers. Not the behind-the-scenes kind of culinary work as I think of it. So I use these heat waves in that kind of productive respect. And it's good for me, it's good for Sam, and it's probably good for our health in general because I wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, heat notwithstanding. There's no reason for me to spend that time doing anything but more productive health-related things, like cleaning the house, like taking care of, pre-making things that I know we're going to need for the week, baking off a loaf of bread, making mayonnaise for Sam's sandwiches. It's not that difficult to do. I mean, it's a little time-consuming sometimes, depending on what you're making. And that mayonnaise, I learned this morning the hard way, that kind of emulsion, 10 minutes of continual whisking. Damn near busted my arm out the shoulder. I'm not kidding. I have got to figure out the best way to do that either in my baby food processor or with the balloon whisk in my stand mixer because, ow. I don't have enough hands. You have to slow drip in the oil as you whisk, and I didn't have a bowl that was staying stationary because I had to use my metal bowl, and oh my god. In any event, these are the lessons you have to learn from experience making something, or from listening to someone who cooks who you trust, either or. But yeah, that about sums it up, and my look at the clock says that I've shaved about 5 minutes off of my previous recording time. Hopefully this one plays back better. So that's it for now, and I will probably post again at some point during this heat-laden weekend. Ideally, I'll have more conquered recipes to share. But bear in mind, related to something my dad said to me, as I said at the beginning of this, nothing I do on these video postings is really something you need to watch. Okay, I make funny facial expressions sometimes, but you know what? That's secondary to the fact that I tend to have vocal inflection. Any face I'm making probably is a mirror of what the tonality of my voice is conveying as well. It makes sense to me for someone to play this while they're on Reddit, while they're on Twitter, while they're on Facebook. You don't need to be watching me. I'm much more interested in what I'm saying and how I'm saying it vocally than the presentation of the body the voice is coming out of. I mean, because look at me. I'm not wearing makeup. My hair is not done. I'm not wearing a nice shirt. I mean, hell, I'm not even wearing my glasses because of the friggin' glare. You don't have to be looking at me. The point is the content of what I'm saying, okay? So that's it for now. I will talk to y'all again in the near future, etc., etc., repeating myself.